Welcome to the next video in the series Photoshop CS5 for architecture students. To my section through here. Now I'm going to turn off the people through there, and I can turn off all layers associated with people just by closing off the group. Now if we look to the side on the plan, we have a window off to the side there. So that in fact is going to throw light onto that wall through there. Now on the upper level plan there is no window there, so on this upper part of the wall there won't be quite as much light. However, this roof is intended to be translucent with a series of battens underneath, so light will come through in a dappled way. First things first, this wall here. Now I'm going to do just a very simple fill in this section here, similar to what we did there. Now I notice on the outset that we've got a few gaps through here that I'm going to have to plug up so that the fill works properly. So I'm going to select the section that I'm going to draw in. I'm going to use the pencil tool. Now in fact before I do that I'm going to select a colour similar to that, use the pencil tool and just plug the gaps through there. Use my space bar to scroll across, plugging that gap, plugging that gap, plugging that one. I'm going to space bar again all the way down the bottom, and there we go, plugging all the gaps. Okay, so that's pretty good for a fill now. So I'm going to select the colour for the fill. I'm going to put the colour on the actual section itself through here. So I'm going to select, I need to select the actual section graduated colour to access that colour through there. I'm going to pick one that's a bit darker than the light side, but not quite as dark as the darkest through here. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to highlight the section layer, pull up my paint bucket tool and just dump a bit of colour in there. That's great. So now I'm going to go back to my graduated colour section, and I'm going to throw in a bit of graded fill in this area through there. So I've just put a very simple rectangular marquee. Under the paint bucket I've got the gradient tool. I'm just simply going to go left to right. That's probably not so good. Make it closer through there. That's a bit better. Great. So we've got a fill going across through there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'll extend it across a little bit more, so it's not quite the same darkness as that portal. Makes it stand out a bit. Going to close off that selection. Going to make another selection up the top through here. Make a rhomboid shape selection. Now there's no light coming directly through there, but there might be a bit of light spill through here. So we'll do a slightly different trajectory through there. Brilliant. Okay, I like that. So I'm going to close off that selection now. Okay, I'm going to now make a series of, I guess, light shafts coming through that roof through here. Now I'm going to create a new layer to put them on. So I'm going to call it light shafts. Okay, so that's in the section area, new layer. Now how I'm going to create this is that I'm going to just define an area. Now where am I going to start this? Start it from the top there. Okay, so I'll make a defined area for my light shaft. Now I'm going to select this colour through there. It's a nice sort of sunny colour. Make sure that my light shafts is activated through there. I'm going to do a gradient fill again with this. I'm going to start a little bit outside because I don't want it to be too white at the start. Pull a gradient fill through there. Brilliant. Okay, so let's go back to that light shaft. Now what I'm going to do is that instead of repeating that process for the series of light shafts, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy it, so Control C, and paste it, Control V. You can see it's made a new layer. I'm going to use my Move tool just to offset that. And I'm going to keep doing that. Control V, Control V, Control V again. There we go. So we could probably be a little bit more careful with these, so I might nudge that one over a bit, even them up. Brilliant. Okay, now you notice here that I'm starting to get quite a number of layers through here, but ostensibly they're all light shafts and they could sit on the one layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of those separate light shaft layers, and in my flyout I'm going to look for merge layers. So I'm going to merge all of those layers together. Okay, it's collapsed it in. I'm going to rename it light shafts. Okay, so you can see now all of those light shafts are in the one section. Now we know that this wall and this wall here are in the same plane, so in theory the way that the light applies to here and here should be the same. However, this is on a different plane, so the light won't fall on the wall in the same way. So we need to edit these off first through there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a quick marquee through there, and I'm going to just erase out those light shafts first. Okay, so we don't need them anymore. Okay, there we go. Close that off. Now this through there is the section, so we're not going to see the light shafts there either. So again, what I'm going to do is create a marquee that I'll use as a mask, and then I'm going to erase the bits of the light shaft through there. Brilliant. Okay, now we can start to sort of think a little bit harder about how the light is going to fall onto these sections. Now I know for certain that it's not going to go through the floor unless there's a hole in the floor, so I'll get rid of that little section there. Now I know that it's not going to sit on that part through there, so I'm going to get rid of that part of the section as well. Okay. Now I know that these parts will fall onto that because they're all approximately in the same layer and the light will actually fall through there. However, this portal here and this plane are in different planar relationship to each other. Though the light will probably catch on there, perhaps not quite so much underneath this section, so I'm going to delete that part there because that would probably be in shadow. What I'm going to do is offset the light that's going to hit those portals. So I'm going to then put a rectangular marquee. Don't quite like that. Going to put a rectangular marquee around that part. Hold my shift key and I'm going to do one along that part as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut those out with Control X and then paste them back in again, Control V. So what I can do is now offset those light shafts ever so slightly. Now it hasn't worked out brilliantly for me here because these elements here are not doing so well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bluff these out a little bit through here, and I'm going to recut these. So I'm going to cut those, paste them again, and then align it ever so slightly offset. Perhaps to make it give the illusion. It's not perfect skiography, but it's not so bad. I'm going to just trim off that light through there. Okay. So the light's coming and distorting across those two planes. Again, I'm going to select all of these, merge these layers, and again name them light shafts. Okay, so that's a pretty good representation of the light, but we can do probably a little bit better than that. Now, one way we can sort of make the effect a bit more subtle is to perhaps adjust the opacity of it. So that's not so bad either. Now, what I'm going to do is actually come back down here, and down the bottom of the panel we can actually put a layer style applied onto the elements of that layer. So I'm going to select that. Now I'm going to pick, you can play around with all of these different effects and styles, but I'm going to use the Satin one for now. So I'm going to have a look through here. So I might just cancel that out for the time being. I'll take the opacity down, I'll go back to Satin. So I'm not going to do multiply, but I'm going to do color instead. Let's check the opacity. Let's go through there. So it's made it a slightly more subtle effect. If we go OK. Yeah, it's improved it a little bit. I'm going to ramp down the opacity a little bit more to give that effect a little bit more, I guess, blending characteristic. Now, as I said, it's not an absolutely accurate or perfect representation of those shadows, but it gives the effect, and for these types of drawings it really does tell the story about what's going on in that section. So I'm going to close the section off and put my people in there again. So it's a small thing, but it actually makes quite a difference and tells a lot about the building. So hope you got something out of that short video. Now in the next video we're going to put some text in our drawings, and then after that we're going to be saving off the presentation. So stick around and we'll see you for the next video.